It would be nice to see those people change what they're doing, but they're not going to. Will there be a momentary lull? Maybe. Maybe. But no, they're not going to. In 6 to 8 months, we'll be right back to where we are. Maybe there's an opportunity that the politicians on the right, and frankly, look, is it just on the right? Mostly. Mostly. I mean, you could argue that, like, when that Senator Manchin from West Virginia takes a gun and shoots at the health care bill, that his metaphor is a little bit extreme. And I would argue, thought it was inappropriate. I thought he was an a-hole for doing that at the time. But I am at a loss to come up with another example. I mean, the classic moron Matt Bai, who is, if you ever wanted a guy, like a weekly example of how if you manage upwards well and have a mediocre mind, but is determined not in any way to challenge the establishment in any of the contexts in which you operate, you want to see how that person, how that is a recipe for success in any type of institution, read Matt Bai in the New York Times on a regular basis. He is a walking example of how that type of mediocrity and deference to the establishment is a great recipe for success. I mean, I've seen it in many contexts. I mean, from corporations that sell shoes to sitcom writing, for God's sakes. I mean, it's everywhere. So he's writing a turning point in the discourse, but in which direction? So the gist of this article is, wow, this can go one of two ways. Nothing will change or everything will change. Holy crap, really? Man, he should play the lottery today. He may either win or may not. But aside from that incredible mediocrity, he starts his paragraph, his first paragraph off with Sarah Palin's infamous crosshairs map from last year, which showed a series of contested congressional districts. That was scrubbed, and also a diary from Daily Kos was scrubbed. Well, first of all, because she said, the congresswoman is dead to me because of a vote she took. Dead to me. In other words, Evan, you're dead to me because you didn't do your work this morning. Doris, you're dead to me because you came late today. Is equivalent to me using a rifle scope as a way of suggesting, like, instead of my saying, when you come in, Dorsey, you're dead to me, I'm going to leave a sign on the door with your picture and a rifle scope on it. And then, of course, there's a slight difference between the implications of a vice presidential candidate of the largest party in this country and some guy named Shuki Four, who's a diarist on Daily Kos, in terms of the context that they set. My guess is that Shuki Four, or whoever wrote that diary, was never quoted by Matt Bai in any of his other pieces. I suspect he talks about Sarah Palin quite often. Why might that be different? Odds are pretty good that neither of these had much to do with the shooting in Tucson. I wonder, is there a distinction between those two odds, though? I mean, what are the chances that Jared Lee, whatever his name is, Loeffner, had ever heard of Snooky 4 or whatever that diarist was, or that he had heard of Sarah Palin. No way to know. No way to know. And then he goes on to list the rest of his entire thing is about right-wing violence in the 1990s. And then he goes on to say, the problem would seem to rest with the political leaders who pander to the margins of the margins. Really? But we know there's no difference between what Snooky 4 writes on a diary on Daily Kos and what Sarah Palin puts in her campaign imagery. And then he goes on to list Sharon Angle and Rick Barber, Republican in a congressional race, and Palin. And then he goes on to create his false equivalency in the last paragraph. None of this began last year or even with Mr. Obama or the Tea Party. There were constant intimations during George Bush's presidency that he was a modern Hitler. Show me one intimation from an elected Democratic official, from a major voice in the Democratic Party. Intimations that he was a modern Hitler. Or the devious designer of an attack on the World Trade Center. Really? Really? Show me one person who was the VP candidate of the party. Show me one person who was an elected Republican Democratic official. Show me one person on left-wing talk radio. Maybe I could find one, two who was on more than 4 or 5 affiliates in the country. But reverse it. They have a whole goddamn serious channel on the Second Amendment. 24 hours of programming. Hey, where'd that come from? This false equivalency, I got news for you, folks. It is people like Matt Bai and the false equivalency that we get from the media that opens the door for people like political leaders to essentially, quote, pander to the margins of the margins. Because they're not called out for that pandering. They're not punished in the public sphere for that pandering. That's why we keep seeing it. Because people like Matt Bai say, it's a problem with our politics, as opposed to a problem with certain politicians. That's the problem.